British intelligence published a report on Russian tactics of harassing NATO, warning of Moscow's intentions. In the shadow of ongoing peace talks in Ukraine, Russia is playing a game of weakening NATO countries. Information coming from other Western European countries is also alarming. According to German defense experts, the Kremlin has deployed 2 army corps in Belarus, numbering over 300,000 soldiers ready to attack. Where sanctions fail, drones help. The Ukrainians have begun a new phase of putting pressure on Russian raw materials. With Moscow circumventing sanctions on oil supplies using its so-called Shadow Fleet, the Shadow Fleet's ships have now become the target of attacks in the Black Sea. In addition to oil tankers, the Ukrainians have significantly developed their capabilities to attack the Russian Navy, all this with the use of surface drones.
The enemy is entrenched. Ships barely operate. They go out 20 nautical miles, launch ballistic missiles, and return. They constantly hide. And in a way, that's also a result of our unit, because you can imagine the cost of maintaining a fleet that cannot operate at sea.
What's more, not even those ships hiding in Russian ports are completely safe. In recent days, there was a daring operation by the Ukrainian intelligence, which sank a Kilo-class submarine anchored in the port of Novorossiysk. Kyiv is linking its actions to political decisions in Brussels. There has also been a bureaucratic awakening there. The fact is that sanctions in many areas were ineffectual and hardly enforced. Now, at least in the fight against Russian oil, the European Union is announcing an offensive.
Russia's Shadow Fleet remains its cash lifeline, and we are cutting it. Today, we sanctioned several individuals linked to Rosneft and Lukoil, as well as shipping companies. Also, additional 40 vessels to the sanctions list. To cut off Russia's cash flow faster, we will now also sanction Shadow Fleet vessels on a rolling basis.
However, this may not be enough. Neither to slow Russia down, nor to weaken it in any real sense. London is warning the world of the growing threat from the Kremlin, regardless of whether or not the war in Ukraine can be brought to an end.
Alongside the grinding war, Russia is testing us in the grey zone with tactics that are just below the threshold of war. It's important to understand their attempts to bully, fearmonger and manipulate because it affects us all. I'm talking about cyber attacks on critical infrastructure, drones buzzing, airports and bases, aggressive activity in our seas above and below the waves.
What's worse, the Russians are not hiding their intentions at all. Analysts observing the situation in the immediate vicinity of NATO's eastern flank can clearly see that Moscow is not wasting any time and is preparing for a major confrontation with the NATO alliance. German politicians claim that over 300,000 troops have already been deployed in Belarus.
The export of chaos is a feature, not a bug, in this Russian approach to international engagement. And we should be ready for this to continue until Putin is forced to change his calculus.
For this to happen, the Kremlin must know it will not win through diplomacy or intimidation. To this end, regardless of the situation in Ukraine, the countries on the eastern flank must strengthen their alliances at all costs, both with each other and with the USA.